What is the next step for someone who goes into your website? Are they making a phone call somewhere? How does that work?
Yeah, I would hope that they would, through the lookup tool, be able to find someone local. They can plug in a zip code and it'll give them a local homeowners consultant that's in that area if they want to work with someone local, which a lot of first-time homebuyers do. They can also walk into any of our bank locations.
Ernest, is there something that the audience will need to know about working with your team? Why Wells Fargo versus some of the other lenders, some of the other companies?
Listen, I always tell every consumer, make sure that you have options, and that's one thing I ask of my sales team. We never try to steer a customer in one direction or the other as it pertains to products and programs. We want to make sure they're well informed.
Welcome to our series of videos aimed to educate our community about the opportunities and programs that the Urban League of Philadelphia is offering in partnership with different organizations in and around Philadelphia. Today, we have the great Ernest Campbell here with us with Wells Fargo to talk about some of the great work that Wells Fargo is doing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've always been a partner of the Urban League, but we've now had the ability to have a fully funded program for about the last 2 or 3 years, and I would love to get the word out to the community.
Perfect. So before we dive deep into this video, make sure that you check some of our other content. We have some great information about the first-time homebuyer process. We have conversations with realtors, lenders, and other great products like this one. So Ernest, obviously, thank you for that. We know that you've been a great partner. You guys have been great partners of the Urban League of Philadelphia. Now the Urban League of Greater Philadelphia. I will also like to remind everyone that. And in the work that we've been doing together, we're grateful to you guys because you guys come to us with the mortgage side, but you're also partners on the other work that also really matters for us. So you are very busy. You have a team of dedicated professionals who are out there in the community, knocking on doors, so to speak, trying to connect with different folks about the options that Wells Fargo is offering in terms of mortgages.
Yeah.
But also I'm hearing something very interesting that has to do with a very specific programs that you guys recently launched that offers some down payment closing cost assistance.
Yeah, so we recently launched our Dream Plan Home mortgage program and the closing cost program. That program is in the entire Philadelphia MSA. It's $5,000 of closing cost assistance.
Great.
In conjunction with our conventional 3% down mortgage. What's nice about the program is it offers a reduced interest rate and also reduced MI for those families that are in the 80% or less. And then also you couple it with the $5,000 closing cost assistance. That in itself is a great program. We recently launched a couple of years ago in Philadelphia and some of the surrounding counties, Montgomery Bucks, also in Delaware and Allentown MSAs, our homebuyer access grant, which is another $10,000 that you can couple with the Dream Plan Home mortgage to $5,000 closing costs. And the great thing about that program is it actually goes up to 120% of AMI.
All right.
So you can make up to $140,000 in some markets and still qualify for the program, which is a little bit different than some of the other down payment assistance programs that are available. So it makes it more attainable for some of those folks that are in the maybe a little bit higher income bracket. And the other piece that's really special about that program is not only does the buyer qualify based on where the property is located, but the seller also qualifies based on their home address.
Yes,
so they can take that program with them wherever they're moving to, even if it's out of the Philadelphia area. So it travels with the person who's residing at that address or the person who's purchasing at that address. So
that's amazing.
It really helps try to spur more inventory so that not only are sellers able to use it to vacate their property, maybe they're a move-up buyer, but now it opens up the door for someone to buy their home.
Someone to come in.
And receive the grant as well.
A lot of the folks who are watching these videos are sort of learning about this process. So I want to break down some of what you just mentioned for people who are not as familiar as you and I with that. A portion of the assistance that you guys are offering has to do with the actual income of the family that is applying or trying to purchase in some of these areas, right?
The applicant. So it's not household income.
It's only for the applicant.
Yeah.
Pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Right. That's all. We always appreciate that for other reasons. Right. So a portion of the assistance is allocated based on that. And then there is related to that or connected to that, there is also the assistance that is applicable depending on the location of the property.
Correct. Yeah. So those are the two components. So We have a great tool that consumers and realtors can use. It's called the Come Home app. So if you just go to Wells Fargo/Come Home, you can pop an address in there and it'll tell you if that property is possibly eligible because of course it
Okay,
doesn't know
that's great.
your income.
Yes.
But if based on the location of the property, it'll tell you if that property is located in one of the census tracts.
All right.
And the next piece is just you getting with a home mortgage consultant to review your income, to see if your income is within the program guidelines.
I'm always with Todd, Mike,
Yeah.
Gus, and then I recently met someone at an event, great person as well. You guys have a very robust team and very robust presence, making sure also what I like about your team is that there is an intentionality there with language access,
Yes.
which is not something that we're seeing across the board. And that's very relevant for the Urban League and for the work that we do, that this information transcends beyond some of the traditional target audiences. We work with a lot of populations who are just learning about these different resources and these different tools. And with saying that, in saying that, you mentioned to connect with a Wells Fargo loan officer, with a Wells Fargo consultant, someone can go to your website and plug in an address.
They can.
And then they can find some information in terms of the eligibility for the grants.
Yes. So if they have a property they've been looking at, they can go to the Wells Fargo Come Home app, plug in the property, address and zip code, and it'll come back to you with either it's eligible or it's not, and also it'll tell you what the income limits are, because the income limits can range, like I said, based on the county. So Philadelphia County, I think it's somewhere in the 90,000 range, but once you get into like Montgomery and Bucks County, it's
a little
over
bit higher,
100,000.
yeah.
So the app is really convenient, because at first we only had a tool internally, which
I've dealt with that, not with you, with someone else.
we had to take all the incoming calls to look up properties.
Yes.
And not that we don't enjoy speaking with customers, but that gives us less time to be out in the market
Yes.
talking about the program. So we developed this app that folks can use. And again, it's Wells Fargo Come Home. And it gives them the ability to find the properties, and also their realtors the ability to find the properties that may be eligible.
Realtors and consumers alike need to have access to these self-assisted tools. I'm a firm believer of putting some stuff out there for people to be able to consult, to go into those places whenever they feel to, whenever they want to. And I want to understand better what happens. What is the next step for someone who goes into your app, who goes into your website, they plug in their address. It turns out that they can be eligible for this assistance that Wells Fargo is offering. What happens after that? The app, the website will direct them to one of your professionals, loan officers, consultants. Are they making a phone call somewhere? How does that work?
Yeah, I would hope that through the lookup tool, be able to find someone local. They can plug in a zip code and it'll give them a local home mortgage consultant that's in that area if they want to work with someone local, which a lot of first-time home buyers do. They can also walk into any of our bank locations and ask to be connected with a local home mortgage consultant. Back to your intentionality piece, about 24 months ago, I made the decision to hire local reps that actually were full-time salary employees so that they could be dedicated to servicing the community.
Yes.
And because working in the first-time homebuyer space, the pull-through is not as it would be in some other demographics. So they expect to work long hours and to work weekends because that's what the business calls for. And so I have probably in the Philadelphia area about 20 to 24 loan officers that are in the market.
That's a very robust presence.
All the way up to Allentown. Even got some folks that span all the way out to Harrisburg and to Lancaster. And so we've got a pretty good presence of team here that are looking and willing and able to help consumers along the journey. Right? It doesn't mean that you meet with someone today and you're approved tomorrow. Some of our customers we've been working with for a year before we get them ready, but the key is to start, right?
Right.
Put the left foot in front of the right foot and just get started.
Yes.
To figure out, what you qualify for, what documentation you will need, what your, what your budget is, and so those things kind of can help put on the path. And of course, we work with your clients that go through the homebuyer education
Urban League.
classes, right? And so
Yes.
that's been a great partnership where you guys
We're grateful for that.
Get them buyer ready, and then we try to get them across the finish line.
Yes, and your team is often coming into our workshops. We have a lender, a realtor, a home inspector talking about the home buying process. So multiple members of your team have joined us for these 4-hour classes that we have every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., regardless of whether we are out in the community or we are there have been times when I have 4 different events in one day. We're still having our standing class that takes place on Zoom because we recognize that for a lot of people, that's the easiest way to access this kind of information. People can come in. It's a live session. It's a free live session where you can ask all sorts of questions about the home buying process. So going back to this commitment that Wells Fargo has made to multiple markets. This is not exclusive to Philadelphia.
Correct.
Right? Also planting that seed, because sometimes we see people coming to us from other places. Is there an expiration date for this type of commitment?
No, this is something that we've made a full investment in, and it's not one of those programs where we set a certain amount. What we've just done is we've been very intentional about where we expand. Fortunately for me, covering Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, DC, Virginia, I actually have the program available in Philadelphia's metropolitan area, in Baltimore, in DC, Prince George's County, and now just launched in Richmond. So we've got a nice footprint where we have the
Up and down.
up and down the Mid-Atlantic. Every market isn't as fortunate.
Yes.
But yeah, you're right. Philadelphia, we're starting to see is becoming more of a transplant town, right? We got folks that relocating from New Jersey, relocating from New York, just because of the affordability here. Now we think that in Philadelphia, we think we have a problem with affordability, and we do. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But in comparison to some other markets up and down the coast, we're much more affordable. And so that's why that component of where you're moving to and being able to qualify for the grant is unique, so that if someone is moving out of Philadelphia, if their address today qualifies, then they can take the grant with them wherever they go.
That's fantastic. So is there a limit to the number of times someone can tap into this program? Is one and done? You can do it. I bought a house using this program. You're talking about me taking that somewhere else. Sounds like it's in some way targeting first-time home buyers.
Yeah, but it's not only for first-time home buyers. It just has to be for your primary residence. You could have owned a home before, so it's not only for first-time home buyers. So we see a broad variety of consumers taking advantage of the program. And then the other piece is, there are other programs that you guys help work with, like Philly First. You can actually combine this program with Philly First. So you could really
we want that.
We could have the closing cost assistance of 5. You could have our 10, Philly First 10, and you can use all those together since they're grants. And we'll take, there's no lien position for us because the loan is forgivable. I shouldn't say the loan, the grant is forgivable after day 1 of you moving the property.
Forgivable at closing.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so there's no lien attached to that. Okay, for those who understand how some of these programs work, let's say Philly First, you receive $10,000 from the city or up to $10,000 from the city, but then the funds will be secured by a lien that will be in place for 15 years. It's a silent lien, it's a friendly lien, but yet it still is there to secure the funds. But in this case, whatever amount people are receiving is forgiven at closing. It acts more as a credit.
For sure.
What are you mentioned something that it's kind of like something that that's something that we share with our clients to get them excited about the home buying process, is the ability to stack grants up to a certain point where people may be walking into these transactions with tens of thousands of dollars in some cases. You mentioned your program, Philly First. We give them a little bit something extra. We've seen people coming into some of these transactions with close to $40,000 or about $40,000 in down payment closing cost assistance.
Yeah, we had some LIFT funds, which was a program that we manage as well, but that's a program that does have limited funds and is not unlimited. So I think that there may be a few grants that are still out there of folks who maybe have not found a home, and that was another 15. So we had, I think, about 12 or so families so far that were able to take advantage of all 4 grants. The LIFT program, Philly First, our Homebuyer Access Grant, and the closing cost assistance. So we've had some folks walk away from closing with cash in their hand. That doesn't happen all the time. But because they're getting reimbursed for any expenses they put into the transaction because they had so many credits, so maybe their appraisal, maybe their inspection, other things that they paid for out of pocket, they're able to get those expenses back because of the amount of surplus that they have from the amount of grants. So I wish I could say we could do that for every family, but that's not the case. But as long as Philly First is still funding, we'll continue to
Yes.
work with that program.
Yes.
Again, our program has been around for a couple of years now, and we're just slowly expanding into different markets, with Richmond being the most recent market. But Philly was one of the first markets that the program came into, so I was really excited to be able to bring it to a market in which I live and work.
And we are, for those folks who are new to this environment and to Wells Fargo's presence in Philadelphia, we also have to acknowledge that Wells Fargo helped get programs like Philly First established. I know that you guys have been interacting with the Home Initiative. For anyone who's in Philly, that's one of the recent initiatives that we're trying to deploy. That it consists of multiple programs, all of them very exciting, including Philly First. Ernest, is there something that the audience will need to know about working with your team, working with Wells Fargo? Why Wells Fargo versus some of the other lenders, some of the other companies that may or may not have presence in Philadelphia?
Listen, I always tell every consumer, make sure that you have options, and that's one thing I ask of my sales team. We never try to steer a customer in one direction or the other as it pertains to products and programs. We want to make sure they're well informed. I would say if you're a consumer and you bank with Wells, which about 1 out of every 4 folks in the Pennsylvania market bank
Wow,
with us.
is that how big?
Yeah,
wow,
have some type of-
25%.
some type of relationship with us. I would definitely say start there, because there are also
Yes.
benefits if you're a bank customer of ours and you have accounts with us. You may be able to get additional closing cost credits. You may be able
great.
to get discounts on your interest rate. Also, it's easier for us to get some of your documentation if you bank with us already. A lot of that information we can grab internally. I would say if your current mortgage is with us, come back to us. We have all of that current mortgage information from the mortgage that you have today, and that makes sense. And then again, there's a Wells Fargo on every corner. We treat our bank locations as our offices, and we need to meet you at a local bank. While people do use the online tools, there's still something about sitting across the table from someone and having conversation about what may be the biggest purchase of your life. And so that's the reason that we have deployed loan officers throughout the city, so that we can meet in person still and have some of that face-to-face dialogue.
Rough estimate, how many branches in Philadelphia and around?
Over 100.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow, that's
there's
a
a
big
ton.
presence.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that. And I don't want to get too deep into the work that we have done together through this Philly 5000 initiative,
Yeah.
right? But I do want to acknowledge the support that we have received, the collaborative has received from Wells Fargo. For those of you who are familiar with the Philly 5000 initiative, you're learning this information too. 4,400 families have achieved and sustained homeownership through that initiative. Philly 5000 alludes to the 5,000 that we were hoping to get connected back in 2020. And it sounds like we're going to be there and beyond. That has been a very exciting journey for us. And we appreciate the commitment from Wells Fargo in many levels for this type of work.
Now we got to tackle the mayor's 30,000 number.
Yes, we're going to get there. What folks need to understand and recognize is that when we talk about 30,000, and from the perspective of an organization like the Urban League of Greater Philadelphia, where we have been historically conveners of these conversations, we aspire for that to happen, be a collaboration between public, private, nonprofit sector.
Yeah.
No one can do 30,000 on their own. You'll hear the mayor and other officials out there being the first ones to tell you that we need the support of our friends on the banking and community development side to help us get there, and hopefully more than that. If anyone is paying attention to Pennsylvania's First Housing Action Plan, there is a very robust number in that plan that talks about what are the needs for the southeastern corner of the Commonwealth. So we are excited to hear that Wells Fargo is there. Obviously, the Urban League is pushing forward to that. The mayor's pushing, the city of Philadelphia is pushing to that. And programs like the one you just described are really going to help those folks who need some additional help getting there. I'm going to make sure that people understand one more time. Anyone who wants to learn more about the $15,000 or the up to $15,000 grant can come, obviously, to the Urban League, and we'll connect them with you guys if that's a program they're looking for. But also, people can go directly to your website, directly to your app, and gather some good information, connect with your loan officers, walk into one of your 100 branches in Philadelphia, and go from there.
Yeah,
right?
definitely can walk into a branch, get connected. Use the Come Home app. I think that's a great tool and resource to find out if a property could be potentially eligible. And then you can look up any home mortgage consultants or my private mortgage bankers by doing a zip code search, whatever's closest to you, and based on their bank office or where they office, they'll pop up and be available. And then we're also working on something now for June, right? We talked about.
Oh yes, yes. It depends on when you're watching this video, but
Yeah.
but yeah, if you're watching it prior to June 6th, we hope you can be with us at the Esperanza Arts Center, located in North Philadelphia on 5th Street. We want to bring you out. We want to teach you something about home ownership. We're going to have some raffles, some prizes, some food. I just got a Michelin star restaurant confirmed for that. So that's exciting. And it's going to be a great event. Yeah. Yes, yes. So Ernest, I want to thank you sincerely for your time, for being here with us today. These sessions really help our audience understand and grasp better what is the role of institutions like Wells Fargo in terms of homeownership and the path to homeownership. You'll see me out there doing advocacy, but I'm often fueled by the intentions of other groups, right? This is me having that conversation recently in New York about something like that. So we appreciate your support. We appreciate you being here, and thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, not only are we a strong partner, I'm a board member here at the Urban League, so it only makes sense for us to take our partnership beyond just the board and actually putting our words into action. And so thank you for being a partner.
Thank you. And there you have it, everyone. Please make sure that you check some of our additional videos on the website, on our YouTube channel, also in all the social media platforms. The Urban League always working on behalf of you and other communities. I'm Abraham Reyes-Pardo, Vice President of Housing at the Urban League of Philadelphia. Ernest Campbell, Wells Fargo. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
All right, man. We need to give you your own show.
That was good.